You know what's funny about people saying your love is wrong? They never expect you to actually do something about it. They think their disapproval is some kind of divine judgment that'll make you crawl back, apologetic and broken. Well, surprise, assholes. We eloped and cut them off, and honestly, best decision we ever made. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to the moment everything clicked into place, when I realized just how deep their betrayal ran. It was a Tuesday morning in October, one of those crisp fall days where the air bites just enough to wake you up but doesn't quite hurt yet. I was sitting in my childhood bedroom. Yeah, at 26, still living at home because rent in this economy is a fucking joke, scrolling through my phone while sipping coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Maya was supposed to come over later that evening. We'd been together for 3 years, and I was finally ready to tell my parents about us. Really tell them, not just the sanitized version I'd been feeding them. The sanitized version went like this. Maya and I were best friends, who spent a suspicious amount of time together. We were roommates. When we moved in together last month, separate bedrooms of course, in case Mom decided to drop by unannounced, we were really close, and supported each other through everything. All technically true, but missing the crucial detail that I was head over heels, stupid in love with this woman, and had been since our first kiss in her beat-up Honda Civic after a particularly terrible movie. The real version? Maya was my girlfriend, my partner, my person. The woman who made me laugh until my sides hurt, who held me when anxiety tried to drown me, who knew exactly how I liked my eggs, and that I was secretly afraid of butterflies. Don't ask. She was also a woman, which in my family's narrow worldview apparently made our relationship some kind of moral catastrophe. But I was naive enough to think love could conquer prejudice. That my parents, who raised me to be kind and accepting, would extend that same grace to their daughter's happiness. God, I was such an idiot. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Still on for tonight? I'm nervous but excited. Love you. The butterflies in my stomach weren't the scary kind. They were the good kind, the kind that reminded me why this conversation needed to happen. I typed back, wouldn't miss it. They're going to love you. Well, they already love you, but now they'll get to love all of you. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, I hope so. See you at 7. I set my phone down and took a deep breath. Tonight was the night. No more hiding, no more careful pronouns, no more pretending Maya was just my friend. When she called during family dinners, tonight, I was going to tell my parents that their daughter was gay, that I'd found the love of my life, and that I hoped they could be happy for us. The plan was simple. Family dinner, casual conversation, then ease into it. Maybe start with how happy I'd been lately, how settled Maya and I were in our new place, how we'd been talking about the future. Let them connect the dots, then confirm what they probably already suspected deep down. I spent the morning cleaning the house, not because it needed it, but because nervous energy was eating me alive. I scrubbed the kitchen counters, organized the spice rack, folded laundry that had been sitting in the basket for a week. Mom found me alphabetizing the bookshelf around noon. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me move books around with the intensity of someone defusing a bomb. The sight of her should have been comforting. My mom, in her favorite cardigan, hair pulled back in the same messy bun she'd worn for 20 years, but something felt off. There was a tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her eyes that made my stomach clench. "Honey," she said, and even her voice sounded different. Careful, like she was walking through a minefield. "Can we talk?" I set down the copy of Pride and Prejudice I'd been holding and turned to face her. "Sure. What's up?" She didn't sit down, didn't move from the doorway, just stood there, studying my face like she was looking for something, or maybe looking for the courage to say whatever she'd come to say. "Your father and I have been talking," she began, and immediately every alarm bell in my head started ringing. Nothing good ever followed that phrase. "About you and Maya." The book slipped from my hands and hit the floor with a thud that seemed to echo through the suddenly silent house. "What about us?" Mom's jaw tightened. "Don't play dumb, sweetheart. We're not blind. We've seen how you two look at each other, how you act together, the way you light up when she calls, how you rush to move in with her." She paused, took a breath. "We know what this is." My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to be the one having this conversation on my terms when I was ready. Not ambushed in my childhood living room while holding a Jane Austen novel like some kind of literary shield. "Mom, let me finish." Her voice was sharper now, more controlled. Your father and I love you. You know that? But this, Fing ... with Maya. It has to stop. The world tilted sideways. I actually felt dizzy, like someone had spun me around blindfolded and then asked me to walk a straight line. Thing? This phase you're going through, this confusion. It's normal, honey. Lots of girls go through it, especially at your age. But you're 26 now. It's time to grow up, find a nice young man, settle down properly. I stared at her. Actually stared, mouth hanging open like some kind of cartoon character. Phase? Confusion? Had she missed the last 3 years of my life? The 3 years where I'd been happier, more confident, more myself than I'd ever been? Mom, this isn't a phase. I love her. You think you do? But it's not real love, honey. It's not natural. She said the word natural, like it tasted bad, like she was trying to spit it out as quickly as possible. What you need is some distance from this situation, some perspective. Perspective? My voice was rising, but I couldn't control it. What kind of perspective? And that's when she dropped the bomb. We've made an appointment for you with Pastor Morrison. He has experience with this sort of thing. There are programs, support groups, places where you can get the help you need to overcome these urges. The room went silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner, the same clock that had been counting down the seconds of my childhood, that had witnessed every Christmas morning and birthday celebration and family gathering. Now it was witnessing the moment my family decided I was broken enough to need fixing. Help? I whispered. You think I need help? Yes, sweetie. We all need help sometimes. And we're going to get through this together, as a family. But first, you need to end things with Maya. Tonight, it's not fair to either of you to keep living this lie. Lieutenant? She called the most honest, real, beautiful thing in my life a lie. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break, not yet, but crack like ice under pressure. And if I don't? Mom's face went stone cold. Then you'll have to choose. Your family or this lifestyle. But you can't have both. We won't enable this behavior, and we won't pretend it's normal or healthy or acceptable. Not in this house. The ultimatum hung in the air between us like smoke. Choose, as if love was a multiple-choice question, as if my happiness was something they could veto. I bent down and picked up the book, more to buy myself time than because I cared about Jane Austen at that moment. My hands were shaking. Actually shaking. When I stood back up, Mom was still watching me with that same careful expression, like I was a wild animal that might bolt or attack. What if I choose her? I asked quietly. Then you're not our daughter anymore. 5 words. 5 simple words that carved out everything I thought I knew about my family, about myself, about the world I'd been living in. I'd expected disappointment, maybe some awkward conversations, definitely a learning curve. I hadn't expected to be disowned for falling in love. I set the book down on the coffee table very carefully, very deliberately. I see. Good. I'm glad we understand each other. Pastor Morrison can see you Thursday afternoon? I'll pick you up at... No. Mom blinked. What? I said no. I'm not going to see Pastor Morrison. I'm not ending things with Maya. And I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not to make you comfortable. The crack in my chest widened. I could feel my childhood, my family, my entire foundation crumbling underneath me. But for the first time in this conversation, I also felt something else. Relief. The exhausting charade was over. No more hiding, no more careful words, no more pretending. Then you know what this means, Mom said. I nodded. Yeah, I do. She turned to leave, then stopped at the doorway. For a second, I thought she might change her mind, might take it all back, might remember that I was her daughter, and that I was happy and that love was supposed to be celebrated, not condemned. Instead, she said, "You have until Sunday to find somewhere else to live." After she left, I sat on the couch in the silent living room, still holding that fucking book, and felt my entire world rearrange itself around me. Everything I'd planned to say tonight, every scenario I'd imagined, every hope I'd had for my family's reaction, all of it was useless now. Maya was coming over in 6 hours expecting to meet my parents as my girlfriend for the first time. Instead, she was going to find me homeless and disowned. I picked up my phone and stared at her last text. "See you at 7. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. How do you tell someone that your family just imploded? How do you explain that the people who raised you to be kind and compassionate just showed you exactly how conditional their love really was? I started typing, "Change of plans. Can you come over now? We're leaving tonight." Then I deleted it. Typed, "Family emergency. I'll explain when you get here." Deleted that too. Finally settled on, "Come now if you can." I need you." She responded immediately. "On my way." 20 minutes later, Maya burst through the front door like she'd been shot out of a cannon, car keys still in her hand, hair wild from driving with the windows down. She took one look at my face and knew. What happened? I told her everything. Every word, every ultimatum, every moment of that surreal conversation with my mother. Maya sat next to me on the couch, holding my hand, occasionally squeezing tighter when the story got worse. When I finished, we sat in silence for a long time. "So what do we do?" she asked finally. I looked around the living room, at the family photos that wouldn't include me anymore, at the furniture I'd grown up with, at the life I was about to walk away from. Then I looked at Maya, at her dark eyes full of love and determination, at the woman who'd stood by me through everything and was ready to stand by me through this too. "We leave," I said. "Tonight? We pack everything we can fit in your car and we go." "Where?" "I don't know. Somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere we can start over." Maya squeezed my hand. "Are you sure? This is your family. Maybe if we give them time?" "No." The word came out harder than I intended, but I meant it. They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. We spent the next 4 hours packing my life into garbage bags and cardboard boxes. Clothes, books, the jewelry my grandmother left me, photos from college, my laptop, the coffee mug Maya had given me for my birthday. Everything that mattered, everything that was mine, everything that proved I existed as something more than their disappointment. Mom and Dad didn't come home. I don't know where they went, but I was grateful for their absence. I couldn't have faced another conversation, another ultimatum, another reminder of how little my happiness meant to them. By midnight, Maya's Honda was packed to the ceiling. We sat in the driveway for a few minutes, engine running, looking at the house I'd grown up in. All the lights were off except for the porch light, the same porch light that had welcomed me home from school every day for 18 years. "Last chance," Maya said quietly. "We can still go back inside. Try to work this out." I shook my head. "There's nothing to work out. They think I'm broken. They think you're a disease I need to be cured of." I reached over and took her hand. "I'd rather be homeless with you than live in that house without you." Maya smiled then, the first real smile I'd seen from her all day. "Good thing I love you too, then." As we pulled out of the driveway, I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I'd seen that house, those windows, that life I was leaving behind, I might have lost my nerve. Instead, I focused on the road ahead, on Maya's hand in mine, on the future we were driving toward. I had no idea where we were going. No plan, no safety net, no family to fall back on. But for the first time in my life, I was completely, authentically myself. No more hiding, no more shame, no more pretending. They thought our love was wrong, and they gave me an ultimatum. Well, here's what they didn't expect. I was about to show them exactly what wrong could accomplish when it stopped giving a damn about their approval. We drove for 3 hours straight, stopping only for gas and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. Maya kept glancing at me sideways, probably wondering if I was going to have a complete breakdown right there in the passenger seat. Honestly, I was wondering the same thing. The adrenaline that had carried me through packing my entire life into trash bags was starting to wear off, leaving behind a hollow ache that felt like someone had scooped out my insides with a rusty spoon. Around 3 a.m., we pulled into a motel parking lot somewhere outside the city, the kind of place that charged by the hour and didn't ask questions. The neon sign flickered VCANCY in sickly pink letters, and the whole building looked like it hadn't been updated since the Carter administration. Perfect. Anonymous. Exactly what we needed. Maya handled the check-in while I sat in the car, staring at my phone. 17 missed calls from Mom, 12 from Dad, a handful of texts that all said variations of "Where are you?" and "We need to talk." I turned the phone off without reading the rest. Room 237 smelled like cigarettes and industrial disinfectant. The carpet was the color of old mustard, and the bedspread had suspicious stains that I decided not to investigate too closely. Maya dropped our bags by the door and immediately started opening windows, trying to air out the decades of previous occupants' bad decisions. "Well," she said, hands on her hips, surveying our new temporary home. "It's got character. Character is one word for it," I muttered, poking at the remote control with the tip of my finger like it might be contagious. Maya sat down on the bed next to me, the mattress springs creaking ominously under our combined weight. "Hey." She tilted my chin up so I had to look at her. "You okay?" Was I okay? Let's see. In the span of 6 hours, I'd been disowned, made homeless, and forced to flee my hometown like some kind of criminal. My parents had decided that 26 years of raising me meant absolutely nothing compared to their discomfort with who I loved. My childhood bedroom was probably already being converted into Dad's home office or Mom's craft room, all traces of my existence carefully erased. "I'm spectacular," I said. "Living the dream." Maya's thumb traced along my jawline. "We'll figure this out. We'll be okay." I know. And the crazy thing was, I did know. Sitting in that shitty motel room with the woman I loved, surrounded by everything I owned in garbage bags, I felt more secure than I had in years. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't pretending to be someone else. I wasn't editing myself for other people's comfort. "I keep thinking about what my mom said," I admitted, "about how this isn't real love." Maya's jaw tightened. "She doesn't know what she's talking about." "No, she doesn't." I leaned back against the headboard, which was bolted to the wall and covered in the same mustard-colored fabric as the carpet. "But you know what? I'm glad she said it." "Yeah? Yeah." I felt something shift inside me, like puzzle pieces clicking into place, because now I know exactly who they are. They're people who think love comes with conditions. They're people who would rather have a miserable, closeted daughter than a happy, authentic one. They're people who chose their prejudice over their own child. Maya was quiet for a long moment. "So what do we do?" That was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? What do you do when the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally decide that your happiness is less important than their comfort? When they give you an ultimatum designed to make you choose between your truth and their approval? I thought about all the times I'd bitten my tongue during family dinners when they made casual homophobic comments. All the times I'd laughed along with their jokes about alternative lifestyles and phases and confused young people. All the times I'd made myself smaller, quieter, less authentic to avoid conflict. All the times I'd protected their feelings at the expense of my own. "We live our lives," I said finally. "We be happy. We be so fucking happy that it drives them crazy." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Elaborate." I could feel a plan forming in the back of my mind, still hazy but gaining shape. "They want us to fail. They want this to be a phase, a mistake, something I'll regret and come crawling back from. They're probably sitting at home right now, waiting for me to call and beg for forgiveness. And we're going to disappoint them." I sat up straighter, energy starting to flow through me again. "We're going to build a life that's so beautiful, so successful, so undeniably right that they can't pretend we're broken anymore. Revenge through happiness? Revenge through proof." I grabbed my phone and turned it back on. The missed calls and texts loaded immediately, but I ignored them. Instead, I opened my social media apps and started scrolling through my family's profiles. There was Mom, posting Bible verses and inspirational quotes about God's plan and staying strong during trials. Dad sharing articles about moral decay and protecting traditional values. My older brother Kevin posting pictures of his kids with captions about raising them right and family values. My cousin Sarah, who'd always been the golden child, announcing her engagement to some guy she'd been dating for 6 months. The comments were full of congratulations and heart emojis. "So happy for you. What a beautiful couple. When's the wedding?" Sarah, who'd cheated on every boyfriend she'd ever had. Sarah, who'd been arrested for drunk driving twice. Sarah, who'd stolen money from our grandmother's purse at Christmas dinner last year. But Sarah was straight, so Sarah was celebrated. I screenshotted everything. Every hypocritical post, every sanctimonious comment, every example of the double standard I'd been living under my entire life. "What are you doing?" Maya asked, peering over my shoulder. "Research." I kept scrolling, kept screenshotting. Building a case. For what? For why they don't get to have us in their lives anymore. I found my own social media profiles next. 3 years of carefully curated posts that told the story of my relationship with Maya without actually telling it. Photos of us together with captions like "Great day with my best friend" and "Roommate movie night" and "So grateful for this amazing person in my life." Dozens of comments from family members. "Maya seems lovely. You two are such good friends. So nice that you have someone to share your life with." They'd been right there the whole time. The truth had been staring them in the face for 3 years, and they'd chosen to see only what they wanted to see. They'd been happy to love Maya as long as they could pretend she was just my friend. They'd been happy to celebrate our relationship as long as they could deny what it actually was. "Look at this," I said, showing Maya my phone. 3 years of them commenting on our photos. 3 years of them knowing exactly what we were to each other and choosing to ignore it. Maya scrolled through the screenshots, her expression growing darker with each one. They knew. They've always known. I felt a cold rage settling in my chest, different from the hot panic I'd felt earlier. This was calculated. Strategic. They just thought they could control it. They thought they could keep us closeted forever, let us live together and share a life as long as we never said the words out loud, as long as we never asked them to acknowledge what we really were. And when you finally tried to tell them the truth, they decided it was easier to lose me than to admit they'd been wrong. I opened my laptop and started typing. A new document, blank and waiting. At the top, I wrote, "The plan." Maya raised an eyebrow. "This is getting serious." "Damn right it's getting serious." My fingers flew across the keyboard. "They want to play games? Let's play games. They want to pretend we don't exist? Fine. But they don't get to control the narrative anymore." I started with the basics. We needed jobs, a place to live, a support system. Maya had her degree in marketing. I had mine in graphic design. We had skills, we had ambition, we had each other. We could build a life anywhere, but just surviving wasn't enough. Surviving was what they expected. Surviving was what would prove their point, that we were struggling, that we'd made a mistake, that we needed them more than they needed us. "We're not just going to survive," I said, typing furiously. "We're going to thrive." "I'm listening. First, we find jobs. Good jobs. The kind that come with benefits and respect and career advancement." I created a new section in the document. "Second, we find a place to live. Not just any place. A place that's beautiful. That's ours. That's everything they said we couldn't have." Maya nodded. "Okay, practical stuff. What else?" "Third, we build a chosen family." I thought about all the friends I'd lost touch with over the years, all the connections I'd let slide because I was too busy walking on eggshells around my biological family. We surround ourselves with people who love us for who we are, not who they want us to be. "And fourth?" I looked up from the laptop. "Fourth, we get married." Maya's eyes widened. "What?" "We get married." The idea had come out of nowhere, but as soon as I said it, I knew it was right. We have the most beautiful, most authentic, most joyful wedding in the history of weddings. We invite everyone who actually matters, and we celebrate our love like it deserves to be celebrated. Are you proposing to me right now? In a motel room that smells like cigarettes and broken dreams? I laughed, the first real laugh I'd had all day. "No, I'm not proposing. When I propose, it's going to be romantic and perfect and worthy of the most amazing woman in the world." I reached over and took her hand. "I'm just saying that we're going to build a life that's so beautiful, so successful, so undeniably right that they can't ignore it anymore. And if they still try to ignore it, then we'll make sure everyone else sees it." I turned back to the laptop. "We're going to document everything. Every milestone, every success, every moment of happiness. We're going to build a social media presence that tells our real story. Not the sanitized version they preferred. The real version. The version where we're not hiding, where we're not ashamed, where we're not apologizing for who we are." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "This is about more than just proving them wrong, isn't it?" "Yeah." I saved the document and closed the laptop. "It's about proving us right." We spent the next hour adding details to the plan. Job search strategies, apartment hunting tips, a list of friends to reconnect with. I made Maya laugh by suggesting we start a YouTube channel called Revenge Through Happiness, where we document our journey from disowned to thriving. "Actually," she said, "that's not a terrible idea." I was joking. "I'm not." She grabbed the laptop and opened it again. "Think about it. How many people are going through the same thing we are? How many kids get kicked out for being gay or trans or just different from what their families expected? We could show them that it gets better, that you can build a life that's even more beautiful than the one you lost." I stared at her. "You want to put our entire life online?" "I want to put our happiness online." She started typing, adding to the document. "I want to show them what authentic love looks like. I want to make them regret every single moment they chose prejudice over their own daughter." I paused, considering. "That's actually brilliant, right?" Maya's eyes were bright with excitement. "We'll start small. Just us, figuring out our life together. And then, when we're ready, when we're stable and happy and successful, we get married on camera. The wedding they'll never be invited to. The wedding they'll have to watch from the outside, knowing they chose to miss it." I felt something dark and satisfied settle in my chest. They'll see everything they could have had. All the love they rejected, all the joy they missed out on, all the family they threw away. And they'll know it was their choice. Maya nodded. "Exactly. We worked until dawn, refining the plan, adding details, building a roadmap for the life we were going to create. By the time the sun came up, we had a strategy. Not just for survival, but for success. Not just for moving on, but for moving up. The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. Phase 1, establish stability. Find jobs, find housing, build a foundation. Phase 2, build community. Reconnect with friends, make new ones, create a support system that actually supported us. Phase 3, document everything. Share our story, our growth, our happiness with the world. Phase 4, celebrate our love publicly, permanently, beautifully. And if our families wanted to watch from the sidelines, if they wanted to see what they'd given up, if they wanted to witness the life they'd chosen not to be part of, well, they were welcome to scroll through our social media like everyone else. I looked at Maya, curled up next to me on the questionable motel bed, hair messy from sleep, face peaceful in the morning light. She'd thrown her entire life into chaos for me. She'd driven 3 hours in the middle of the night, packed up everything she owned, and followed me into uncertainty without a single complaint. She'd chosen me when my own family wouldn't. "Hey," I whispered, not wanting to wake her but needing to say it. "Thank you." "For what?" she mumbled, not opening her eyes. "For choosing me. For not making me choose between who I am and who I love. For making me feel like I'm enough exactly as I am." Maya opened her eyes then and smiled. "You are enough. You're more than enough. You're everything." And lying there in that shitty motel room, surrounded by garbage bags full of my old life, I felt something I'd never felt before. Complete acceptance, complete love, complete certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. My family thought they were punishing me. They thought they were teaching me a lesson, showing me what I'd lose if I didn't conform to their expectations. What they'd actually done was set me free. Free to be myself without apology. Free to love without shame. Free to build a life that was authentically mine, not some compromise designed to make other people comfortable. They'd given me an ultimatum thinking I'd choose them. Instead, I'd chosen me. And now I was going to show them exactly what they'd lost when they decided their prejudice was more important than their daughter's happiness. The plan was in motion. The foundation was laid. Now came the fun part. 6 months later, Maya and I were living in a sun-drenched 2-bedroom apartment with exposed brick walls and plants hanging from every available surface. The kind of place that gets featured in those young professional living spaces articles, the kind my mother would have called trendy, in a tone that suggested trendiness was somehow morally questionable. Maya had landed a job at a boutique marketing firm that specialized in LGBTQ+ businesses and nonprofits. I was freelancing for 3 different design agencies, pulling in more money than I'd ever made living at home. We had a joint savings account, a coffee subscription, and a cat named Freddie Mercury who judged us from his perch on the windowsill. But the real masterpiece? Our social media presence. I'd started documenting our life the day after we left that motel. Not the dramatic, oversharing kind of documentation that screams, "Look how happy I am," to convince yourself as much as everyone else. The authentic kind. The kind that shows real life. Morning coffee and matching mugs, Maya singing off-key in the shower, grocery shopping arguments about whether we needed more pasta. We always needed more pasta. Our Instagram followers had grown from maybe 50 people to over 3,000. Turns out there were a lot of people hungry for genuine queer content that wasn't filtered through trauma or tragedy. People wanted to see love that was normal, everyday, boring in the best possible way. And my family? They were watching. Oh, they were definitely watching. I know this because my cousin Sarah, the golden child, remember, had started liking our posts. Not commenting, never commenting, but liking them within minutes of us posting. Which meant she had notifications turned on. Which meant she was refreshing our page obsessively. Mom had created a fake Instagram account, Jennifer_K_2023, with no profile picture and no posts, but she'd accidentally liked one of Maya's stories 3 weeks ago and then immediately unliked it. Amateur hour, Mom. I screenshot everything. Dad was lurking on my LinkedIn, checking out my professional updates like some kind of career stalker. I could see his views in my analytics. Every time I posted about a new client or a successful project, there was Dad, probably seething behind his computer screen that his broken, confused daughter was doing better than ever without his guidance. But the real victory came 4 months into our new life, when Maya and I decided it was time for Phase 4. I think we should do it, I said one evening, sprawled across our couch with my laptop balanced on my chest. I was editing photos from our weekend trip to the coast, images of us laughing on the beach, sharing ice cream, looking ridiculously happy against a backdrop of sunset and waves. Do what? Maya asked from the kitchen, where she was attempting to make Thai curry from scratch and cursing at the coconut milk. Get married? The cursing stopped. I could hear her footsteps crossing the hardwood floor, and then she was standing in the doorway, wooden spoon in hand, looking at me like I'd just announced my intention to join the circus. Are you being serious right now? I closed the laptop and sat up. Dead serious. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. We're stable. We're happy. We've built this amazing life together. And they're watching every minute of it, probably hoping we'll fail. Maya sat down next to me, setting the spoon on the coffee table. So you want to get married to spite your parents? No. I took her hands, suddenly needing her to understand that this wasn't just about the plan, wasn't just about revenge. I want to get married because I love you more than I've ever loved anything. I want to marry you because when I picture my future, you're in every single frame. I want to marry you because you chose me when my own family wouldn't. I paused, then grinned. The fact that it'll absolutely destroy their narrative is just a bonus. Maya laughed, the sound filling our living room like music. You're insane. Is that a yes? That depends. She leaned closer, eyes sparkling with mischief. Are we doing this right? Define right? I mean, are you actually proposing to me right now? Because if you are, I have opinions about the setting. Our couch is nice, but it's not exactly romantic. I felt my cheeks heat up. This isn't the proposal. The proposal is going to be perfect. This is just reconnaissance, market research, seeing if you'd hypothetically say yes to a hypothetical proposal about a very real marriage. Hypothetically, Maya said, I would hypothetically say yes to marrying the hell out of you. And that's how we started planning the wedding my family would never be invited to. But first, the proposal. Because Maya was right, she deserved better than a casual conversation on our IKEA couch. She deserved something that honored what we had, something that would be worth sharing with the world, something that would make every single person who'd ever questioned our love shut up and pay attention. I spent 2 weeks planning it. 2 weeks of secret phone calls and online research and carefully hidden browser tabs. I knew exactly what I wanted. Something public enough to be seen, private enough to be ours, romantic enough to make people believe in soulmates again. The plan was simple. Maya's birthday was coming up, and I'd convinced her we were going to her favorite art museum for a quiet afternoon. What she didn't know was that I'd contacted the museum's event coordinator, explained the situation, and arranged for us to have the sculpture garden to ourselves for 30 minutes during closing time. What she also didn't know was that I'd hired a photographer to capture the whole thing from a discreet distance. Because if we were doing this, we were doing it right. We were going to have photos that would make people weep with envy. Photos that would end up in wedding blogs and Pinterest boards and the social media feeds of everyone who'd ever doubted us, including my family. The day of the proposal, I was a nervous wreck. I'd picked up the ring that morning, a vintage Art Deco piece with a center stone that caught the light like captured fire, and it was burning a hole in my jacket pocket. Maya kept asking why I was being weird, and I kept deflecting with increasingly ridiculous excuses. Are you sick? She asked as we walked through the museum. No, just tired. Are you having second thoughts about moving in together? We'd been living together for 6 months. Definitely not. Are you secretly planning something elaborate and romantic that's making you insane with anxiety? I stopped walking. Why would you ask that? Maya raised an eyebrow. Because you've been acting like you're about to rob a bank all day. And because you've been weirdly interested in my ring size lately. And because you asked me what my favorite flowers were last week and then claimed it was for a design project. Shit! I thought I'd been subtle. Maya. Also, she continued, grinning now, you left the jewelry store website open on your laptop yesterday. Double shit. So, she said, linking her arm through mine. Are we going to keep pretending I don't know, or are you going to tell me where you hid the ring? I stared at her. You've known this whole time? Baby, you're many things, but subtle isn't one of them. She kissed my cheek. I've been waiting for you to work up the nerve all day. Are you disappointed? I asked. That it's not a surprise? Are you kidding? Maya's eyes were bright with tears. I'm marrying someone who loves me enough to plan something beautiful, even though public speaking makes you want to vomit. I'm marrying someone who wants to share our love with the world, even though the world hasn't always been kind to us. I'm marrying someone who looked at her family's rejection and decided to build something even better." She paused. "I don't need to be surprised. I just need to say yes." The sculpture garden was perfect. Golden hour light filtering through the trees, art installations creating intimate spaces, the sound of the city distant enough to ignore. The photographer was hidden behind a bronze abstract piece, capturing everything with a telephoto lens. I got down on one knee next to a sculpture called Eternal Embrace, two figures intertwined, reaching toward the sky. Maya's hands flew to her mouth, and even though she'd known it was coming, even though we'd practically planned it together, she started crying. "Maya," I said, my voice shaking despite all my preparation, 3 years ago, you became my best friend. 2 years ago, you became my partner. 6 months ago, you became my family when my biological family decided they didn't want the job. I pulled out the ring, and Maya actually gasped. It looked even better in the golden light, antique and elegant and completely perfect for her. "Today, I want to ask you to become my wife. I want to build a life with you that's so beautiful, so authentic, so undeniably right, that no one can ever question it again. I want to love you loudly, publicly, proudly, for the rest of our lives." Maya was full-on sobbing now, the pretty kind of crying that somehow made her even more gorgeous. "Maya Elizabeth Chen, will you marry me?" "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, obviously yes, of course yes." I slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. She pulled me up and kissed me, and I could taste salt from her tears and feel her laughing against my mouth. The photographer got everything. The proposal, the kiss, Maya examining the ring in the fading light, us dancing to music only we could hear next to the Eternal Embrace sculpture. By the time we got home, I had a gallery of photos that looked like they belonged in a magazine. I posted the best one that night. Maya mid-laugh, holding up her hand to show off the ring, both of us glowing with happiness in the golden hour light. The caption was simple. She said yes. Engaged our loved ones, choosing joy. Within an hour, we had over 500 likes and 50 comments. Friends from college, co-workers, strangers who'd been following our story. Everyone was celebrating with us, sharing in our joy, validating what my family had tried to invalidate. But the most telling responses came from the people who didn't comment. Sarah liked the post within minutes, then immediately shared it to her story with a string of heart emojis. My brother Kevin viewed our Instagram story but didn't respond. Dad checked my LinkedIn profile 3 times that week. And Mom? Mom sent me a text at 2 a.m. "I saw your announcement. Congratulations. I hope you're happy." I screenshot it and showed Maya the next morning. "That's it?" she asked. "After 6 months of radio silence, that's all you get?" "That's all I need," I said. "Because you know what that text really says?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "It says they've been watching. It says they know exactly what they're missing. It says they're starting to realize that disowning me didn't make me disappear. It just made them irrelevant to my happiness." We started planning the wedding immediately. Not because we were in a rush, but because we were excited. Because we wanted to celebrate. Because we wanted to prove that love doesn't wait for permission. The wedding planning became content gold. Maya started a YouTube channel called Planning Our Happy Ending, where she documented everything from venue hunting to dress shopping to cake testing. I designed our invitations, our website, our entire visual brand. We were creating a multimedia celebration of our love, and people were eating it up. The comments on Maya's videos were incredible. "You two are relationship goals? This is what real love looks like. I can't wait to see the wedding photos." People were invested in our story, rooting for us, celebrating us in a way my family never had. But the real revenge came when we started posting about the guest list. "We're keeping it small," Maya explained to the camera while we addressed invitations. "Just the people who've supported us from the beginning. The friends who became family when our biological families couldn't handle who we are." I held up an invitation. "These are going to Maya's parents, who've been incredible. To my college roommate Sarah, who's flying in from Portland. To our friends Jake and Michael, who've been together for 10 years and showed us what healthy love looks like. We're also inviting my co-workers," Maya continued, "because they threw us an engagement party last week that made us both cry happy tears. What we didn't say, but what was obvious to anyone paying attention, was who wasn't being invited. The absence was deafening. In a guest list of 75 people, there wasn't a single member of my biological family. My phone started ringing after that video went live. Mom, Dad, Kevin, even some aunts and uncles I hadn't heard from in years. I let every call go to voicemail. The messages were all variations of the same theme. We need to talk. This has gone on long enough. Don't you think you're being a little dramatic? Dramatic. That was their word for refusing to hide who I was. Dramatic. As if asking for basic acceptance and respect was some kind of performance art. I made a response video. Just me, sitting in our living room, looking directly into the camera. A lot of people have been asking about my family, I said, about why they're not involved in our wedding planning, so I want to be clear about something. I took a breath, centering myself. 6 months ago, my parents gave me an ultimatum. They told me I could choose my family or my lifestyle, but I couldn't have both. They told me that loving Maya was wrong, unnatural, something that needed to be fixed. Maya appeared in frame, sitting next to me on the couch, taking my hand. They told me I wasn't their daughter anymore if I chose love over their prejudice. So I chose love. I chose authenticity. I chose a life where I don't have to hide or apologize or pretend to be someone I'm not. I looked directly into the camera, and now they want to come to our wedding. They want to be part of this celebration after they told us our love was wrong. They want to be included in our joy after they tried to destroy it. Maya squeezed my hand. Here's the thing about ultimatums, I continued. When you give someone a choice, you have to be prepared for them to choose the option you don't want. My parents thought they were calling my bluff. They thought I'd come crawling back, ready to live in their closet forever just to keep their approval. I smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. They were wrong. So no, they're not invited to our wedding. The people who told us our love was wrong don't get to witness us celebrating it. The people who chose prejudice over their own daughter don't get to walk me down the aisle. I paused. But they're welcome to watch the live stream like everyone else. That video got 50,000 views in the first week. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. Good for you. You don't owe them anything. Your wedding will be more beautiful without their negativity there. But the best part? The analytics showed that someone in my hometown had watched it 47 times, and I had a pretty good idea who. The wedding was everything we'd dreamed of and more. We held it at a botanical garden, surrounded by flowers and friends and so much love I could barely breathe. Maya wore a vintage lace dress that made her look like a fairy tale princess. I wore a custom suit that fit perfectly and made me feel like the main character in my own life story. Maya's parents walked us both down the aisle, tears streaming down their faces. My college roommate Sarah officiated, reading vows we'd written that made everyone cry. Our friend Jake played guitar while his husband Michael sang a song they'd written for us. The photographer captured everything. Our first look, Maya laughing so hard at my vows that she snorted, the kiss that sealed it, our friends cheering as we ran back down the aisle as wives. The reception was a blur of dancing and speeches and cake that tasted like happiness. But the most satisfying moment came during our first dance. Maya and I were swaying to At Last by Etta James, lost in our own world, when I caught sight of my phone on the head table. The screen was lighting up with notification after notification. What is it? Maya whispered. The live stream? I whispered back. We have over 3,000 viewers. Maya's eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously. I spun her around and she laughed. 3,000 people are watching us be happy. 3,000 people are witnessing our love, including the people who said it was wrong. After the song ended, I grabbed my phone and checked the viewer list. There they were, Jennifer K 2023, and 2 other accounts I didn't recognize but whose viewing patterns suggested they were also from my hometown. My family was watching. They were seeing everything they'd chosen to miss. They were witnessing the beautiful, joyful, authentic celebration they could have been part of if they'd chosen love over prejudice. I took Maya's hand and pulled her back onto the dance floor. What are you thinking about? She asked as we swayed to the next song. I looked around at our friends, our chosen family, the life we'd built from scratch in 6 months. I thought about the apartment we'd go home to, the future we were planning, the love story we were writing one day at a time. I'm thinking, I said, that they were right about one thing. What's that? Our love is different. I smiled. It's better than anything they could have imagined. It's stronger than their disapproval. It's more real than their expectations. It's everything they said it couldn't be. Maya kissed me then, right there on the dance floor, in front of all our friends and 3,000 strangers on the internet, and whoever from my family was watching through their screens. I love you, Mrs. Rodriguez, she whispered against my lips. I love you too, Mrs. Rodriguez. And as we danced, I realized that this was the best revenge of all. Not just proving them wrong, but proving us right. Not just surviving their rejection, but thriving beyond their wildest dreams. Not just choosing happiness despite their disapproval, but building a love so authentic, so undeniable, so absolutely right that it made their prejudice look small and mean and pathetic by comparison. They thought they were teaching me a lesson when they gave me that ultimatum. Turns out they were right. I did learn something important that day. I learned that their love had always been conditional, and I learned that I deserved better. So I found better, I built better, I married better. And I made damn sure they could see exactly what they'd lost when they decided their comfort was more important than their daughter's happiness. The wedding video got 100,000 views in the first month. People shared it with captions like, "This is what love looks like," and "Goals AF," and "Why am I crying in the club right now?" But my favorite comment came from a teenager in Ohio. "My parents just told me I'm not their son anymore because I'm trans." Watching this gives me hope that I can build a family that actually loves me for who I am. Thank you for showing us it gets better. That's when I knew our revenge was complete. Not because we'd hurt the people who'd hurt us, but because we'd helped someone else believe in their own worth. Not because we'd proven them wrong, but because we'd proven that love always wins. They said our love was wrong. We proved it was perfect. And honestly, I don't think they'll ever get over it. 2 years later, Maya and I were sitting in our new house, not apartment house with a mortgage and a yard and neighbors who brought us cookies when we moved in, sorting through wedding cards we'd never opened. We'd been too busy honeymooning in Italy, then too busy buying furniture, then too busy living our ridiculously happy life to deal with the mountain of congratulations. "Look at this one," Maya said, holding up an envelope addressed in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a card with pressed flowers and a note from my high school English teacher. "I always knew you'd find your happy ending. Congratulations on writing a love story worth celebrating." I set down the card I'd been reading, something about wishing us eternal bliss, from Maya's great aunt in Minnesota, and really looked at the pile we'd accumulated. Hundreds of cards, hundreds of people who'd taken time out of their lives to celebrate ours. Not one of them from my biological family. It had been 8 months since the wedding, and the silence from that front was deafening. No congratulations card slipped under our door. No awkward phone call on our anniversary. No sudden change of heart prompted by seeing how genuinely happy we were. Just nothing. And you know what? I was finally okay with that. "Hey," Maya said, nudging me with her elbow. "Where'd you go?" "Just thinking." I gestured at the cards. All these people celebrating us, and the people who raised me couldn't even send a generic Hallmark card. "Their loss," Maya said simply. "Yeah," I agreed. "It really is. That's the thing about revenge through happiness. Eventually, the revenge part fades away, and you're just left with the happiness." The anger that had fueled me for those first few months had slowly dissolved into something much more powerful: indifference. I didn't check my family's social media anymore. I didn't screenshot their posts or analyze their online behavior or wonder what they thought about our latest life update. I'd blocked them all 6 months ago, not out of anger but out of boredom. Their drama had become irrelevant to my joy. Maya's YouTube channel had grown to 250,000 subscribers. What started as wedding planning had evolved into lifestyle content, home decorating, relationship advice, cooking disasters, and honest conversations about building a life after family rejection. The comment section had become a support group for LGBTQ+ people navigating similar situations. "Update video today?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer. Fridays were always update days. Absolutely. I grabbed my laptop. I have news. The news was big. Bigger than the house, bigger than the successful freelance business I'd built, bigger than the cookbook deal Maya had just signed. The news was going to change everything. Maya set up the camera while I made coffee in our actual adult kitchen with matching appliances and a backsplash that didn't look like it was installed during the Nixon administration. Our morning routine had become second nature. She handled the technical stuff, I handled the caffeine. "Ready?" Maya asked, adjusting the lighting one final time. "Ready." We settled onto our couch. The good couch, the one we'd bought with our combined adult incomes instead of finding on Craigslist, and Maya hit record. "Hey everyone," Maya said to the camera, her smile bright and genuine. "Welcome back to our Friday update. I'm Maya, this is my wife." She paused for dramatic effect. "And we have some pretty incredible news to share." I took her hand, the wedding ring catching the light. 2 years later, and I still got butterflies every time she called me her wife. So, I said, looking directly into the camera, remember how we've been talking about expanding our family? The comments started immediately. Maya's audience had been following our conversations about adoption, about wanting to create the kind of family we'd never had growing up, about building something based on love instead of blood relations. Well, Maya continued, yesterday we got the call. We've been matched with a birth mother, I said, and even saying the words out loud made my heart race. We're going to be parents. Maya started crying, the happy kind, and I felt my own eyes welling up. Baby Rodriguez arrives in 4 months. She managed through the tears. We're having a daughter. The notification sound from her phone was going crazy as comments flooded in. Congratulations, heart emojis, people sharing their own adoption stories, excited reactions from viewers who'd been following our journey from the beginning. I can't believe we get to do this, Maya whispered, temporarily forgetting we were recording. I can't believe we get to be the parents we always wished we'd had, I whispered back. And that's when it hit me. The final piece of our revenge had nothing to do with them at all. We were creating a family, a real family, built on unconditional love and acceptance and joy. We were going to raise a daughter who would never have to hide who she was, never have to choose between her truth and our approval, never have to wonder if our love came with conditions. We were going to be everything my parents couldn't be. You know what's crazy? I said to the camera, wiping my eyes. 2.5 years ago, my parents told me I had to choose between my family and my lifestyle. I made air quotes around the word, still amazed by their language. They thought they were taking away my chance at having a family. Maya squeezed my hand. Turns out they just made room for us to build a better one. After we finished recording, Maya uploaded the video while I sat in our backyard, watching the sunset over the garden we'd planted together. My phone had been buzzing non-stop with notifications, text messages from friends, Instagram comments, YouTube subscribers sharing in our excitement. But the message that surprised me most came from an unknown number. Saw your announcement. Congratulations. She's lucky to have you both. It took me a moment to recognize the area code. Then I realized it was from home. From my hometown? From someone who'd been following our story, watching our lives unfold from a distance. I showed Maya the text. Think it's one of them? She shrugged. Does it matter? And she was right. It didn't matter. Whether it was my mother finally admitting she'd been wrong, or a neighbor who'd known me growing up, or just a wrong number, it didn't change anything about our life, our happiness, our future. 3 years ago, they'd given me an ultimatum. Choose your family or choose your truth. I'd chosen my truth and built a family around it. A family that celebrated love instead of hiding from it. A family that would welcome our daughter exactly as she was, whoever she turned out to be. A family that proved their definition of normal was actually just small, scared, and sad. Come on, Maya said, pulling me up from the porch swing. Let's go start the nursery. As we walked back into our house, our home, our sanctuary, our proof that love always wins, I thought about the girl I'd been 3 years ago, sitting in her childhood bedroom, scared to tell her parents the truth about who she loved, believing that their approval was necessary for her happiness. I wished I could go back and tell her what I knew now, that the people who love you conditionally were never really your family to begin with, that authentic happiness is worth more than comfortable lies, that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be anyone other than exactly who you are. They thought they were punishing me when they made me choose. Turns out they set me free, and now I get to spend the rest of my life proving just how wrong they were about everything that matters. Our daughter is going to grow up knowing that love is love, that family is what you build rather than what you're born into, and that her parents chose truth over comfort every single day. She's going to grow up knowing she's wanted, celebrated, and unconditionally accepted. She's going to grow up knowing what real family looks like. And honestly, I can't think of better revenge than raising a human being who will never understand how anyone could choose prejudice over their own child's happiness. They said our love was wrong. Our daughter will grow up knowing it was the only thing that was ever right.